A Day with the Doctor, presented by the Friends of Doctor Who. I am asked to make an announcement. At conventions I've attended in the past, I've startled some people by saying, I am the Doctor, there is no other. But today, I'll be sharing the stage with Before we begin, I'd like to make one thing plain. I am still the Doctor. I have always been the Doctor.
Well, you wanted a regeneration, didn't you?
The Friends of Doctor Who proudly presents A Day with the Doctor 2. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome for the first time together on any stage, special guests, Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy.
Who is this strange Englishman sitting next to me? Oh, he's a doctor. I do like it.
Right, what's your name? My name's Colin, this is Sylvester. What's your name? Bill, Brenda, right, who else?
Red.
All shout your names out, please. Right, you didn't shout.
Hi, Colin, it's Lyle.
Hi, Lyle! I wouldn't mind, but it's a girl.
I know.
Right, what happens now? Do they ask us questions?
I think they do, yes.
Yes. Do you want to ask us questions? Like what? What's the word?
I think there are microphones down there, aren't there, at the front?
If you want to come down and don't feel embarrassed, everyone will be watching you. There's microphones there, you can stand and ask questions and we can answer them. Or not, depending on our mood, really.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. We can have some lies.
Shall I move that so you can see Sylvester?
I know I'm thin, but that's ridiculous. Which one's Sylvester? Hello, hello, could you speak up, please? Go. Up, testing one. If you speak into...
Okay, it's working.
Well, that's working. Thank you for coming.
Pardon?
Okay. My question's for Sylvester. I understand a couple years ago you won a contest impersonating Elvis Presley. I was wondering if you could repeat your performance right here.
I think it was mainly the leg moves. I did this one, you see. That was a good leg move. They quite enjoyed that. And then I did that one. That nearly gave me an illness. I don't know what to torture you with that. I think the jury at the time were completely for...
Oh, please, we're masochists.
I think you should do it, don't you?
What does he do? Listen, all I did was they played a record, and I haven't got a record, and I just went like that one. And somehow they gave me the contest, just because I could go. That was all really, but I didn't sing, someone else did, a guy called Elvis.
What about the time warp? Can you do that?
No.
Neither can I.
Can you twist?
There's a young gentleman in red there.
Thank you for
That's a
embarrassing
really
me.
good question. I've got 2 microphones.
He's a stereo.
And now in stereo.
Are you guys good friends with the master?
Who?
The master!
The master! Yes, which one? There's 2 of them, yes.
Well, I think we're quite good friends with the master.
Yes. Do you play cricket with him?
No, I haven't played cricket with him, but I've attended conventions with him, and we've shared the same platform.
Oh, the actor that plays the master's a rather nice chap.
Anthony Ainley.
But the master himself is a rather nasty chap. Yes, we can say that twice, can't we?
Okay,
Yes.
In fact, the last time I worked with the master, Anthony Ainley, he nearly broke my arm. We were doing this, filming this scene, and he was going to hit me with a big bone. Oh, nasty fella. And we had contact lenses in, and I hadn't. The director at the last minute said, I think you should have these funny contact lenses. And I hadn't gone and practiced. So we were in the deserts of Dorset, where it was about 102 degrees in the heat, you know, a sandpit. It wasn't raining that day, it was the opposite, it was very hot. And there was sand everywhere, and I put these contact lenses in, I couldn't see, they put flames around us, so it was hotter than it should have been, and my eyes were watering. And we were fighting, and he just whacked me, and it hit my arm. But he was full of apologies afterwards, and so I said, don't worry. I said, it took away the pain from my eyes.
It's a sort of bone of contention now.
Yes,
Yeah. The little boy down there. Oh. Oh boy.
My question is for Colin. Were you nervous about playing the Ultimate Adventure?
Was I nervous about playing the Ultimate Adventure?
Yeah.
I was quite nervous that I'd fall over John Pertwee's lines, which were written all over the script and all over the set, and a piece of paper attached to everything. I was nervous about that, but no, I don't think I was nervous about it. It was quite nice. I always say it's a bit like putting on a pair of comfy old slippers that you haven't worn for 5 years, and you open the wardrobe door and you find at the back this pair of shoes, and you say, I remember them, and you put them on and they're really comfortable. And that's what doing Doctor Who again was like, a bit. Yeah, it was nice.
I heard you back.
Because, you know, the part was taken away from me. And
who took it away? Where is he? Oh, hit him.
At least he didn't shoot his predecessor like I did.
How did you shoot yours?
I shot Peter.
Oh, did you? Oh, I see. I just wore your clothes. I had a party in there. There was 25 of them. I'm only joking.
Yes, what's it like being the shortest doctor, I understand? And the only one that's...
Well, I quite enjoy it.
We can both answer,
I
really.
quite enjoy it.
Do you mean in size or in length? In length of...
I will rise above that. What a common rabble. Not a common lot.
You'll get us all into trouble up here.
Are you talking about longevity or height? Height.
You picked up...
Pass. Well, it's horrible being the shortest. It's always upset me.
I think of myself as tall, dark and handsome, so it can't be for me.
That's all right. That's all
But
right.
then I'm short-sighted. Short-sighted.
What is your height, anyway?
5'6" and a dog end. A butt.
A butt?
Butt. You know, butt.
Oh, a butt.
I don't know what they call dog end, but...
One more question. You were also in a movie called 3 Kinds of Feet. I just wanted to say, I liked that.
Did you? Well, thank you.
Wasn't she nice?
Yes, it was my agent.
Yes, sir.
Exactly.
The lights are very bright here, you understand?
Yes. Before you came out, we were discussing what the doctors would do if they had to get a real job and what they would put on their resumes.
Wow. Well, are you talking about the doctors or about us?
Since you two happen to be here, we'll direct the question to either one or both.
Are you talking to the 6th and 7th regenerations?
The 6th and 7th
You're not talking to Colin and Syl, those really nice people, are you?
The ones that can always get jobs.
Colin and Syl.
Colin and Syl.
Yeah, Colin and Syl. Hello, Cole, all right?
Yeah, Syl.
All right, yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, I'm fine, yeah.
Well,
Yeah, Phil's in town. Do you know that, Cole?
Yeah, Phil.
Phil, yeah, Phil's in town.
Going to see Phil tomorrow, are you?
Phil Cole.
Shall I tell you a funny story?
Yes.
I settled into my hotel yesterday, and I always thought I was famous until I came to Cleveland. I got a phone call from the front desk saying, we're going to have to move you out of your room. I said, why is that? We have a famous English person coming to stay here. Phil Collins. Oh well, that's life, isn't it?
Anyway, what job would... I'd like to be Phil Collins if I wasn't... I put that in my resume.
That's very good, yes.
Because he gets a full floor when he arrives anyway.
Yes.
I only get a floor.
But what job would the 6th Doctor do? I don't know, I think he'd be a car salesman or something. He's certainly got the clothes for it. It'd be quite interesting to go through all the Doctors and say what they do. Pertwee will be a male model. I think the 4th Doctor would have an antiquarian bookshop or something. And he's just in the corner refusing to sell things to people.
Yes. Nasty, yes. Peter, what would he be?
Peter would be a...
Fresh face. A vet?
A vet. A cricketer, that's a good word, a cricketer. The 3 cricketers.
Yes. Anthony, Amy, Peter, and are you a cricketer?
Well, no, I'm a cricketer watcher.
Oh, a watcher.
Yes.
Ah, I can't think of what I would be. What? Tall. A stilt walker.
I think these people are heightist, don't you?
Yes, I do. Enough of this sizist stuff. I was going to say another word, but I won't. There's a man with a funny umbrella down there.
Yes, there is, isn't there?
My question's for Sylvester. During Remembrance of the Daleks, when you were standing at the top of the stairs and the Daleks coming up the stairs after you, could you see his legs?
No, I discovered something about Daleks. I didn't really think I was the correct Doctor until I was up against the Daleks. I often wondered what they wore under the skirt. It was then I discovered there's a little man inside thing. Exterminate. What's very interesting is there are 2 people that work with Daleks. There's one that works the actual inside and there's a voice. And they both, when they come to rehearsals, one group sit at one end of the rehearsal room and the other group sit at the other. And they've been working together for the last 26 years, I think, how long the Daleks have been going. And they never communicate. I would have thought they would be part of a very elite club, but they don't seem to get together very much. But our Daleks, because they went up the wall, they came up the stairs, which was historical, I suppose, and hysterical. Another interesting fact was that Daleks are not very good on bumpy ground, which you may have found. And you're filming, you have to flatten. So what they did was they gave these Daleks, these, what do you call them for? Wheelbarrows with they've got big round wheels in the front. Big round wheels. Well, they did, like a ball. Well, they gave the Daleks 3 balls. So now I know what they've got under the skirt. They've got these 3 big, but they make them wobble a lot. That's quite interesting.
Well, it would, yes.
If you had 3, you'd wobble, but there we are.
The thing I always found about the Daleks rehearsing with them is that, because, you rehearse in a rehearsal room for a couple of weeks before you go to the studio, is that you're actually rehearsing with these people who are sitting on the bottom half of the Dalek, the skirt bit. They sit there with an arm stuck out in front of them and rehearsing the movement. So you're actually playing a scene with this demented human being sitting down, pointing arms at you. It's quite difficult to take it seriously.
And they have a thing, they take it very seriously because the lights flash on and off on the vowels or the consonants or something like that. They've worked out a system that the light is only on when it's a vowel, or I can't remember which one it is, but that really is taking their job really seriously.
Just one more thing about Daleks. When we were doing the Ultimate Adventure Tour last year, the best, because it was a slightly more light-hearted version in some respects, the best laugh of the entire evening was got by a Dalek. which was when Senior Dalek chastises Junior Dalek for making an error of judgment, and does the effect of saying, "Go to your room." And the Dalek goes out like this, and as he goes to the door, goes, A crestfallen Dalek. It was very good. Got a round of applause.
Yes, Sylvester, I remember that you did something about the Arctic and Lieutenant Birdie. Could you tell me what that was called?
There's a series of one-hour films called The Last Place on Earth about Scott and Amazon's race for the Antarctic.
I enjoyed your part in that.
Thank you.
I heard that you had to put up with a lot of suffering in there.
Oh yes, we spent 5 weeks in the Arctic filming it, and it ended up just being like on the original expedition. It was completely chaotic, badly planned, and just like the original British expedition, really.
Well, I'm sure there are a lot of people here that appreciate your performance in that.
Thank you.
Okay.
I did actually, although it was hard work and dangerous and very cold and uncomfortable, I did enjoy it immensely. It was great fun doing it.
You played Lieutenant Birdie, though.
I played Lieutenant Birdie, yes. I got the part because I can bird whistle.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I played an iceberg.
Yes, there is more below the table than above it.
That's the truth.
I'm only joking.
Hello, what's your name? Building to a graduate, what's your name?
Stephanie.
Hello, Stephanie.
This is for Sylvester McCoy.
No, come back, Colin.
Sit down, I like you too. I just have a question. I was just told that you get asked this all the time. I'm going to ask anyway. There are a few of us sensation seekers out there that would like to know, how the hell did you hammer a 4-inch nail into your face? Talking about the secret policeman's ball.
Oh yes. We seem to be spending most of our time talking about some sort of ball, don't we? It's an interesting place, Cleveland, don't you think?
Just trying to keep up the mood.
Well, yes, I started my career off as a stuntman, really, in I thought it was a group of actors from RADA. I mean, there was Ken Campbell, Bob Hoskins, Dave Hill and Jane Wood were the founder members of the Ken Campbell Roadshow, along with myself. And I had never been an actor in my life before, and a lot of people think I'm still that way. But anyway, I got that in before you said it. I was asked to do a lot of stunts, and I kept saying, when do I play Hamlet? They said, next. And they said, would you stick a ferret down your trousers? I said, yes. Can I play Hamlet? No, not yet. Now bang a nail up your nose. And so I did all this, and one of them was banging a nail into my face. It was a form of sword swallowing, only a nasal sword swallowing. We used a nail. I wouldn't advise you to do it, though. You lose part of your brain. You lose part of your brain. You lose part of your brain. And when you sneeze, what a mess. But it was in those mad, distant days of the 60s and 70s when you do anything for a laugh. I still do anything for a laugh. Yes, there's a... Pardon? I beg your pardon? Like ferrets. No, yes. Like ferrets. I like ferrets. Do you like ferrets? Do you like ferrets?
Yes, I like ferrets.
Ferrets. I used to stick ferrets down my trousers as well. That was, of course. I never got to play Hamlet. Why not? I was trying to break the world record for having ferrets down my trousers. It was a stunt. We invented it, and it was in the Guinness Book of Records. And we were doing it. I had an actual pocket down my trousers. We used to stick the ferret, and he'd go to sleep, and then I'd have to pretend it was alive and kicking or licking or biting or something. And then I wouldn't break my record. And part of the gag was to get the audience, or usually young ladies, to come up and inspect me to make sure that I had no protection or any stiffening before I put the ferrets down my trousers. And it was all good fun, really. Good, clean, filthy, dirty, British, humorous fun. And we were doing this stunt, we were doing it in a place called Kirby, which is a real cowboy town up in the north of England. And we were employed by the Merseyside Arts Association to go into Kirby and give them some entertainment. It's a very hard and unhappy town. And we went in there, and In fact, someone was killed the night after we were in one place. People were having a fight at the edge of our audience. It was one of those kind of places. It's a really great place to play. And a Sunday paper called The People came along and watched us and took photographs. And then they put this big 2-page exposure of us, and it said, "It might be fun, but is it art?" And because we were getting paid by an arts association. And then overnight, people all over Britain started sticking ferrets down their trousers. Now, we were doing it for fun and for a laugh, but there's something we switch on the television, there'd be a man being interviewed by some Irish interviewee, because there seem to be Irishmen on British television that interview people all the time, chatting with 25 ferrets down his trousers. Ridiculous. Have you ever had any ferrets down your trousers?
No. Hardbox, I only go to
There ain't no room in my trousers, boy.
Why are you speaking with an Irish accent?
Hello.
Hi.
What's your name?
Angela.
Angela. Hello, Angela.
Hi.
What's your question, Angela? You can tell us, Angela? Okay, Angela,
No,
now.
I'm having a fit. I feel like Peter Davison or something.
Well, we'll get him for you.
No.
I'll tell him.
No, that's not what I meant.
Andrew in Cleveland feels like you.
Nervous, that's what I meant. Well, since most of the questions have been for little Sly McFlea up there, that's what he called him at Magnum Opus 3. You call him Sly McFlea.
Simey 3?
Sly McFlea.
Sly McFlea.
Yeah, that's your...
You're not getting mixed up with Back to the Future 3.
Sly McFlea. Did I? No. That must have been a real good party.
Oh yeah, but since he's getting most of the questions, I thought I'd ask him one.
How very kind, thoughtful of you.
Hey, you look
Really
lonely.
nice.
You look lonely up there.
I am very lonely. Yes.
He's got 2 microphones to keep him happy.
Would you like one of them?
Later.
Please. He's the one who laughed. That one down there with the glasses.
Out. Get him out. Yes.
Out.
No, but I did have a question, and my question was, in your Mythmakers interview, you were saying you would like to have been able to develop the character development between the Doctor and his various companions, well, his 2 companions, over the course of the show, but somebody didn't give you a chance. And I was just wondering, what would you have wanted to see, going on screen between the companions there? Yeah, right. No, seriously.
Well, we were thinking of, you were going to be the next companion, you see.
Yeah.
It was all planned, Angela.
Oh, I was going to replace Patty.
No, you're probably referring to the fact that we had a kind of vague long-term plan, that the 6th Doctor should at the beginning make people go, come on, what is this? He's not very nice, and he's got tacky taste, and he treats his companions appallingly. And over a period of time, it was intended to show that this man had heart. Or 2, anyway. Along the lines, I don't know if any of you read Pride and Prejudice, which I think is a rather good book. Jane Austen's character. It's a character of a man called Darcy, and for the first 2/3 of the book, you hate Darcy, because he allows himself to be hated for various reasons. And I think that's quite interesting when a character isn't readily accessible, which is the way we kind of planned the Doctor. But it didn't turn out that way, so... Guys, they've gone quiet.
So, but...
Yes, what?
Don't you love the way
still
you
there.
the questions you ask? The question is, what would you have wanted to do, like, between, the Doctor and the companion to... what would... It's just...
Are you provoking me to make a...
No, I'm not. The question... the thing is, in your first season, you and Perry hated each other, and you threw insults, and you threw each other over walls. And... in the next season, you were like, this is my best friend, Perry, she's a real pally, you can go kill Savlon Blitz, but, leave Perry alone. And, it's like, well, what was going on during hiatus? Anyway, and, yeah, right, leave it wide open, but really,
word from our sponsor.
Are you trying to say...
I don't know, you see, I do the scripts. Basically, what happens is they write scripts and I do them.
In other words,
And
it's not my job. I don't know.
There was a whole season of scripts in between that never got done. And we knew that Perry was leaving, so we had to kind of shorten the process. I'm sorry that it didn't please you.
No, it's fine.
Obviously.
Oh, no, I liked it, really. I did.
Does that doll go everywhere with you?
No.
Can they see it? Have you shown it to the... Hey, you want a costume that fits?
You can carry me around like that.
Have I satisfied you? If you forgive the expression. Could someone sedate her, please? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angela.
Yes, Colin, I've got a couple of questions for you. Number one, I read that you did a radio show of Doctor Who in the hiatus. And I wanted to know something about that. And I also want to know what you thought it was like working on that episode of Blake 7 you were on.
Working with
Paul Darrow and Michael
Okay.
Keaton.
Right, well, the first question, yes, during the hiatus, there was a story called Slipback, which was written by Eric Saywood, which was actually a good idea because logically, I think Doctor Who ought to work extremely well on radio because the sets are good. I've lost about 30 pounds. Radio's great. I was younger, better looking, and you should have seen Nicola's costume, boys. It was a good story, and obviously it frees the writer to do little, slightly more imaginative things when you don't have to actually stick it on the set and make it look as if it can stand up on its own, which we succeed in doing most of the time. So yes, that was good. I suppose most people must have heard it. I don't know. Have you? Well, it's available on tape, I think. You can actually purchase the audio cassette for 43 cents and a couple of used stamps. The second part of your question was... Blake 7 was, and that was fun to do. The character I played was Bayban the Berserker, who was a subtle character. Anyone that dresses in black leather has a skull and crossbones around his neck, and his first line is something like, "This is Bayban, who is the second most hated and feared and wanted man in the galaxy," and he gets really upset because he's not first. This is a fun character to play. I think Paul Darrow was a little surprised that I was even more subtle in my performance than he was in his.
Hi, Paul.
So when he came to guest in an episode of Doctor Who...
Time Lash.
Thank you very much. I could never remember the titles. When he came to visit in Time Lash playing Tekka, he decided he'd get his revenge, you see. So he thought he would play it, this is quite an interesting idea for an actor, he thought he would play it as Richard III, as performed by Laurence Olivier. The character was actually Tekka. It was interesting. John Nathan Turner said, "Why are you doing that, Paul?" And he said, "Well, I thought it was interesting." He said, "Well, stop doing it." But he didn't. It was fun. I think the hump was a mistake.
Did he have on the nose?
Yes, everything. He went for the whole shebang. It was revenge. But Blake 7 was great. I mean, all these science fiction shows are fun to do. It's a bit like being paid to dress up and play cowboys and Indians, you know. They're fun, aren't they?
Yep.
Yes.
It's the nearest I suppose we British actors can get to playing cowboys and Indians, really. We're not very good at it. I mean, playing cowboys and Indians with a funny accent. Good at doctors. We're very good at doctors, English actors. Play doctor.
We play doctor. Yes, that's another smutty reference.
Below me.
I don't know whether it's Sylvester and I together, or whether it's you, but this particular panel has degenerated somewhat.
Yes, rather skilled people. Have we...
There's a young lady there. Go on, you ask your question. Go on.
This is for Sylvester. I haven't heard anything about AIDS, and I wondered if she's as nice as she is on TV.
Is Ace as nice as who? As me on TV?
No, is she as nice as she is on TV?
Ace? Oh, Sophie, you mean? Or, yeah, Sophie playing Ace. Well, is Ace nice on TV? I mean, she blows things up then. You call that nice? They're all strange here, aren't they? And she hits things. She's yeah. No, but Sophie's great. Personally, the person of Sophie Aldred is splendid and a great person. And it's really been, you know, it's one of the joys of been working on Doctor Who was to meet Sophie and get to know her. Really, she asked me to say that. She laughs at all my jokes, so I like her a lot. She's no sense of humour, obviously, but she's lovely.
Hi. Colin, when you first started becoming the Doctor, I read an article someplace about when you were a kid you used to watch Doctor Who. This question is directed at both of you. Who was your favorite Doctor?
First of all, let me, you're very kind to say that when I was a kid I watched Doctor Who.
Yes, I was wondering at that.
Doctor Who started in 1963. At that time I was slightly more than a child, but we'll let that pass. But thank you for the compliment. And you may come again. Give this man free membership. Who's my favourite Doctor? Until a couple of years ago I always refused to answer that question. Because I thought it would embarrass one particular person. But since Lassie's no longer with us, I will say unequivocally, Patrick Trout. Purely personal taste, influenced largely by the fact I knew him rather well and I loved him as a man. I shared a flat with his son for many years and I was best man at his son's wedding. I'd just known Pat for years. And we did a story together called The Two Doctors, about which I was a little bit nervous about working with Pat because I'd admired him enormously as an actor for many, many years, and you know, he might think, who the hell is this whippersnapper, you know, playing my part? And he wasn't, of course, like that. Actors very rarely are. And he was kind and warm and funny and encouraging and complimentary, and I just loved the man. I also loved his Doctor because I thought he had the most difficult job to do of all of them. Because William Hartnell played him for 3 years. And never before had anyone had that very bright idea of making a virtue of necessity and incorporating the fact that the Doctor changes appearance into the story. It was a brilliant idea, but very difficult for the first person to do. And we were very lucky, I think, for our sakes, that it was Pat that was doing it, because he was so different and so clever and such a good actor. I rest my case.
Asked of me many times, and my normal answer is that as all the other Doctors are much taller than I am, and that we meet at conventions sometimes, and if I don't mention their name, they might go, "You didn't mention me, you little... Why didn't you say I was your favourite Doctor?" But as you mentioned Patrick Troughton, he was the first Doctor I ever saw, and I think that you always like your first Doctor. It's like the one that grabs you and hooks you to the programme. There's a special place there for that Doctor, I think. That's who my favourite is, really. And it's a great sadness to me that I never met him, because when he died when I was in Washington. He was in Columbus. I went down there, you know, to where he died, because I'd always been a great fan of his. When I got the Doctor, I was really looking forward to meeting him. That was the one great joy. Never got it. But he's my favourite, apart from John, without an H, and Tom, with a T, and Colin, with a B. And they're all my favourite, really, he said, because they're all taller than I am.
And shall we tell them about the
with a P.
Shall we tell them about the 8th yet, or is that
the
secret?
8th? Oh, no, she's not.
Oh.
Have you done? Do you want to ask more?
Yeah, my brother wanted to know. My brother wanted to know who designed 6th Doctor's costume.
Well, you've heard the story about if an infinite number of monkeys sat down to an infinite number of typewriters. Eventually they come up with the works of Shakespeare. Well, this lot, they weren't very good monkeys.
It
was a poor lady called Pat Godfrey, who was a BBC designer, and a very good BBC designer, who was given the unenviable task by John Nathan Turner of designing something, in his words, without any taste whatsoever, the most execrable taste. And she kept coming back with colourful, but rather kind of stylish designs. And she said, no, too attractive, too pleasant. And the poor woman, I mean, a designer is trained for years to design something, you know, which looks reasonable. And she had to design something tacky, and I think she succeeded rather well. The only consolation was I was in the inside looking out. You all have to look at it. Sylvester was inside it once.
Yes, I enjoyed wearing it. I quite liked it. I felt at home in there, really. In fact, I was going to live in it. Going to move the family in. No, I'm only joking. Only joking. No, actually, I like that costume. Yeah. I like that costume.
You could have it. I never did, really.
Did you not?
No, I wasn't that keen on it. I wanted to have something very austere and black and kind of menacing. But as was pointed out to me, Anthony Ainley had already got that one, so I couldn't have it. But that was my idea. I wanted it to be kind of gloomy, sinister. Yes.
I have a question for each of you. First, Mr. Baker, how did you think of the character of Frobisher in Doctor Who Monthly? I heard that you had an afterword, the graphic novel Voyager, and I was wondering, you mentioned something about you wish it could be done in a television series. How did you feel about the character?
I liked Frobisher. For those of you who don't know Frobisher, it's a cartoon series in the Doctor Who magazine, I think it's called, with this thing called the Shape Shifter, which, a bit like the TARDIS, is stuck as a police box. The few times I saw this cartoon seemed to be stuck as a little penguin. And I quite like the idea of a penguin as a companion for Doctor Who, really. I think it'd be far better behaved than Bonnie Langford and... as long as you have a nice little litter tray in the corner of the TARDIS, it might actually have Bonnie Langford as well. It's all that carrot juice. Have you noticed how carrot juice goes upwards into the hair roots? Yeah, I liked it. I think it was a great idea. Obviously, what you can do in cartoon, you can't necessarily do terribly well. I mean, Tom had terrible trouble with K9, which was part of the reason why that bit the dust. Having to wait for hours for a robot to work properly, you know, is a bit trying when you're a hyper, super duper megastar. Which we all are. That's the truth, isn't it?
Oh, yes. We said humbly.
And Mr. McCoy, I'd like to ask you, did you feel any special honor in being able to work on the 25th anniversary episode, Silver Nemesis?
Yes.
Well, anyway, yeah, maybe up to a point.
Yes, I did really. I mean, in a way, I was disappointed that the 25th anniversary, they didn't make more of it, but that was the BBC not giving any money to it, really. I was a bit sad that they didn't give it its quarter-century, you know, blast. And it would have been great to have done it with all, you know, the other doctors who were around or something like that. Because that would have made it kind of special again, because it's great. I like those specials. As a viewer, I was always very fond of those, and I think lots of viewers are very fond of those specials, because it brings them all together, and you see that it's great fun. It's great idea.
It'd be nice to see some Rashada again, wouldn't it? What they used for Tom Baker's...
oh yes, the dummy,
the cutouts of the dummy.
But leading up to your question is that I noticed that all your adventures so far have been pretty much earthbound lately. I was wondering, would you like to go back out into space, or would you rather stay on the Earth, the historical periods?
Who, that's me?
Yes.
Space. Space. Well, we did do, the last ones, I think we went to space a bit.
Well, we haven't seen the latest season.
Because we were in the deserts of Dorset making one. It was like a spaghetti western, it was so hot, and there was horses and things. So we've been in space a bit in the last series. And we went back a bit in time, which I really wanted to do, because the one thing that attracted me to the Doctor years ago when I first started watching it was the travel back in time. It's always interested me. I've always wanted to know what really happened, because I've never really trusted the history books, because they were written by the ones that won. true. And so it always interested me that. So, but JMT didn't. Well, he didn't dislike history ones very much, but he just said they weren't very popular with the British audience. We managed to do some, like in the 60s and 50s and things. There's some space ones coming up, outer space. But the one I was disappointed in was the one where we went to a planet, and it was in a studio. It was, you know, you could, every time you walked or you ran down the stairs of the planet or closed the door, the whole planet shook. I kind of didn't like that, and said, let's not do any of those again, if possible. And why not use the studio for indoor stuff rather than for trying to create outdoor stuff? And they did that in the 60s. We did one in a Victorian house, and it worked very well.
Well, I feel that the historical stories you've done so far are very good, and I hope you do more of them.
Thank you. Do you want to be my agent? Keep one.
Hi. How you doing? This one's directed to the Dr. McCoy.
Beam me up, Scotty.
My name's Scotty. I come from Canada. I got an appalling Scottish accent.
But he's a lovely man.
Rumor has it you were in Time Bandits. Where?
Oh, remember? No, I wasn't, sadly. I wish I had been. That's a brilliant film, Time Bandits. No, I wasn't. No, a friend of mine was. Dave Rappaport was in it. But I wasn't in it anywhere.
Not much.
Sad, but I wish I could have been.
Because then you could have a longer question, couldn't you?
Yes, I could have answered your question.
Well, pretend you were in it.
Yes. What would I like to have been in it?
Yes.
I don't know. I was a bit overqualified. Just a bit tall. Yes, I could have been the tall one. I could have been really tall, that's right. I could have been tall. But all those are.
This question's for each of you. What were your favorite and least favorite stories during your time as far as the script is concerned?
As far as the script was concerned, I think my least favourite was, as far as script, was Time Lash. Only because it was a mishmash of a script. It had been written so many times and nobody knew what was going on, and it was very unsatisfying, and the author wasn't around to ask any questions of. Also, I have to say that certain elements of Trial of a Time Lord were confusing script-wise. I remember once during the Philip Martin's script in the trial season, and I like Philip Martin, I think he's a good writer, and there was a dilemma because in the context of the trial, at that point, the evidence was being taken from the Matrix, right? Now we know that the Valeyard had got at the Matrix and had made it give false information. So in that scene when I had Bonnie Langford tied to a rock and was...
You must have been happy.
Yes, he was smiling. She was smiling. I said to the director, I said, now is this really happening? Is this the Matrix lying and therefore it never happened? Or is it as a result of that machine the Doctor had been strapped to that's addled his brain? He said, well, I don't know, ask Eric Saywood. So I asked Eric Saywood, the script editor, he said, I don't know, ask Philip Martin. So I rang up Philip Martin, he said, I don't know, Eric Saywood told me to put that bit in. So I said, well, how do I play it? Is there any difference, they said? So I said, well, I am going to play it as if it's a lie and go all out for it. And they said, fine, that'll do. That's what you have to contend with sometimes, which is a little irritating in Doctor Who. So script-wise, because that's what the question you asked, I suppose that was annoying. The script I liked best, probably in terms of simply script, was Vengeance on Varos. I liked that because it had some bite to it. I mean, even though people said it was how violent it is, I mean that's precisely the point of the script, about the television audience's appetite for violence and how it can be used for evil purposes. But the show I liked doing best was The Two Doctors, was a Pat Trap. There you are.
Yes. I find that difficult, really, because again, all the writers are still alive and taller than I am. Difficult being small.
It's a wonderful release when you're not doing the show anymore.
Yes, you can say
what you like.
You can say what you like. Maybe I might get a phone call now saying someone else is taking over and I can tell you exactly what I think. No, but I know the one I liked, I think, the best of the three series I've done so far was ghost-like, personally. Just for the Doctor, because it was a very dense and complex, and I think very, very good script. The one that I didn't like, well, there's a few of those really, but I think the one that as a script was really the first one, because it hadn't been written for me. In fact, part of it had been written for Colin, I think, because there were some lines in it that when I was saying them, I could hear Colin saying them. It's very bizarre. But then again, maybe that's rather a good thing, in a sense, if I was being taken over, you know, I'd taken over his body. Well, a little bit of it, not all of it. I mean, there's a little bit. Anyway,
feel free.
No, I suppose that was rather good, because I remember trying to think, I'll try and do them like Colin then, because it sounds like Colin. But it was something uncertain about that script, because it all put together at the very last minute, and they didn't know who they were writing it for, and it didn't quite fit. But then, I mean, maybe that first season wasn't, a few of the scripts I wasn't very happy with, because we weren't sure what we were doing with the Doctor, meaning them and us, not we, they're all we. And when I got the job as the Doctor, I just rabbited on to John Nathan Turner. I didn't really know much about Doctor Who, because I'd watched it years ago, and then when I became an actor, it was always on when I was performing, and we didn't have VCRs to tape it, so I got out of touch with it. So my memory of Doctor Who was a distant one. And so when I got the job, I really had just conned my way into it, and I started learning in the first, the first 4 stories. And halfway through, I started to realise how I wanted to play it. But then it was too late, because it's a bit like changing. It's a bit like turning the ship, the Titanic. It takes a long time before you move it to its next, or the way you want to do it. So I didn't really get into my Doctor, I don't think, until the 2nd and the 3rd series. But that's all I'm saying, really. About that.
Excellent.
Okay.
Mr. Baker, I have a couple questions. Last I seen you at the TARDIS Con, you were having a verbal war with Doctor Number 5. Is that still continuing?
Doctor Number 5, a verbal war. Peter Davison.
Yes.
Oh yes, yes. We continue every morning when we meet. By one of those extraordinary coincidences that occurs in life, Peter's daughter and my daughter go to the same school and are in the same class. So we tend to meet each other every morning at the school gates, and I say things like, "What are you doing?" He says, "Well, I've got this series I'm starting tomorrow, and I'm doing a film yesterday." And he says, "What are you doing?" And I say, Anyway, nice to see you, Peter. And I worked with his wife, Sandra Dickinson. The first half of this year I was doing a play with her. So I see quite a lot of Peter. So yes, we do have a verbal war, particularly as I had to molest his wife to a certain extent in the play that we were doing.
Second question.
I am the Doctor after all.
No, I'm the Doctor after all.
No.
Oh, are you? Oh, sorry. No, we are. Are we?
Yes, we are.
Yes, you are. I am.
He is.
They is.
They are. Second, in your last, how should I word this? You had a bet with, I believe, one of the newspapers over there on how much weight you could lose versus, have you been challenged any more of these situations?
It was an entertaining little story. There is well, they call it a newspaper, but it's called The Sun. It is, I suppose, roughly comparable to the National Enquirer, though not quite as blatant. It's very jingoistic and very right-wing, and they're a fairly unpleasant paper, really. But they have a thing called Sunday, which is the Sunday version of The Sun. And I don't buy it, of course, but someone drew to my attention that on the front page in a particular issue, they had something about the gross people in Britain, the real fat, disgusting, lardy bodies of Britain. And there on the 20 faces on the front, one of which was mine. My first reaction was I was really flattered, because it was Fergie, who is, you know Fergie, have you heard of Fergie? Yeah, she's now the princess of
something or other.
There was Alison Moyet, who's rather a well-known singer, who, Boy George, Marlon Brando, because he's quite a big guy now. There were about 20. No, he wasn't on it. It's not British, but it was British people. And I was kind of chuffed. Hey, look, I'm famous. I'm fat. Oh yes, I'm fat. So I thought about this and thought, yes, they have a point. I am slightly cuddly. So I got in touch with the features editor who wrote it and said, you are absolutely right, I am disgusting. Will the Sun sponsor me for charity to lose weight? But I thought, no, I was believing making good out of bad. And they said, yeah, okay, we'll give you £10 a pound. I said, come on, I mean, you'll look really tacky if that's nothing. So in the end, they arrived at £100 a pound, provided I got down to my ideal weight. Now, when I started on, we had a weigh, and I was 15 stone 10. I can't work that out. 15 times 14 plus 10. Is there a genius out there who can do it for me? I was a big boy, you know? I'll wobble when I walked. 220, right, I was 220 pounds. And they worked out that I had to get down to 12.5 stone, which meant losing 40-some pounds. And 4 months later, I had lost 50 pounds. And it cost them 5,000 British pounds. So I thought, I know, I can do it all again. So I've just got to the point now where I can start again. Honest. And they were really, I think pissed off is how we described it. Because they never thought I would do it, and they kept bringing different scales in, saying, no, these scales can't be working. And I lost 6 inches around the middle. I mean, I really felt good, actually, but everyone kept saying, don't like you like that. My wife didn't like me like that. So she started sneaking food back into the house, you know. Because the best way of dieting, I find, is you don't eat. It works, a treat. Alas. So there we are. I have put a lot of it back on again, you're quite right. But that's what I did, yes.
Question for Mr. McCoy.
Which charity? It went to 2 charities. Half of it went to the cot death charity, and the other half to a wildlife hospital. That's right. When you had
Can I book it? Yeah. You get fat again. You get this. Thank you.
You had one for Sylvester, did you?
Oh, well. Over here we don't get, our news comes like months after anything's happened over there. Is there any news of the program?
No.
No.
Funny enough, I think you're wrong, because I always used to learn more when I was doing the Doctor about what was going on by coming here than I ever learned in England.
In England we're a very secret society, and the BBC is run like that. You know, they keep things a secret. I used to find out what was going on from the man who cleaned the toilets on the 6th floor. But he's on holiday at the moment, so I've no idea what's going on. Because he'd hear, you know, the executives, you know, while they were washing their face, and going to the restroom, having a rest, whatever you do in restrooms, find out what was happening. The latest I'd heard is they're going to make a decision in September, but they are committed to it. The BBC are committed to doing more. Anyway, I don't know if you're applauding
the
that.
BBC should be committed, actually.
Committed for not doing it, yes, exactly. Come on.
It is. I will tell you one story. Go away. I will tell you one story. I'll tell you one quick story before I'm rudely interrupted. Oh. I will tell you one story. When I was over in America once, the head of Lionheart TV, which distributes the program here, said to me, asked me when I went back to England if I would go and see Michael Grade and ask him to make some more Doctor Who, because Doctor Who was such a successful product here that his job of selling other TV programs was made much easier, because he could go saying, look, I've got 100 episodes of Doctor Who here, and you can have them if you buy these 3,000 episodes of this other Shakespeare stuff, you know. And he couldn't understand that as an actor in a TV series in Britain, which was moderately successful over here, I had no access to someone like Michael Grade. And if I had knocked on his door and said that, he'd have had me committed, because that's not the way it goes on. And they are not commercially minded, alas. It is a fact that Doctor Who earns more each year than it costs to make. That is an absolute fact. Now, in any other business, that would be deemed as something rather useful feat, isn't it?
It's supposed to earn 5 million a year, Doctor Who, for the BBC. It's the highest earning programme they've got, selling in tapes and abroad and everything. It only costs £1.5 million to make. So the profit is enormous, and yet they're not making it. It's crazy. And in Britain at this time, when it's you know, we're living in a market economy. It's completely, well, it's nearly criminal, really.
I agree.
I mean, it's just completely criminal. There's nothing, now that we, you know, someone else maybe should play. I rest my case.
One final question for the dual panel, and then you'll have plenty of chances for the individual sessions later on this afternoon. I beg your pardon?
A dual panel.
Oh, dual, is it Jewish?
A Jewish panel.
Dual. Yes, dual. One final question.
Oh.
Hello.
Hi. What's your name?
Donna.
Donna.
Yes.
Hello, Donna.
Hello. I was wondering, actually, I was curious, what was your children's reaction when they got to see on television your first episode? For both of you.
Well...
When they first saw me on television the first time, ever.
As Doctor Who, do you mean, or in anything? It was unfortunate actually, because my children are a little younger than Sylvester's. Because I'm much younger than Sylvester. You know, I've got a 5-year-old and 2-year-old, and a 3-month-old. So when my first episode went out,
to find out how to do it.
Then we found out what's causing it, everyone stopped. 1984, so Lucy was only... Was it 1984 I started? So she wasn't born, was she? No, Lucy wasn't born. And in fact,
sure about these things.
So she first saw me in my last season. The first thing she ever saw, I was over here in America, and obviously she was about 2. So, I mean, Doctor Who didn't come into her kind of sphere of operation at all. But my wife turned on the television for some reason, forgetting that Doctor Who was on, went out the room, and little Lucy, age 2, saw a huge giant robot picking up her daddy and dragging it across it was the first story of the 3rd season, or the last season, and got very upset because she hadn't seen Daddy for about a week because I was over here, and this robot was dragging me about and doing mischief to me. So since then we've kind of kept Doctor Who out of the way. But she came to see The Ultimate Adventure and loved that. I mean, she joined in, and there was a little creature called Zog, which was wonderful actually. If ever they wanted to have an alien companion for the Doctor, which I think is rather a nice idea actually, this little furry alien, which was hell for the person inside it, but it was really, I mean, cute to, so cute. And Lucy got to meet Zog, and the girl who played Zog, Stephanie, was lovely, and she kind of played with her in character for about 20 minutes after the show, which made her much more happy than seeing me hulking about in a silly suit.
Well, yes, indeed.
Sylvester's turn.
Oh. Get off! He doesn't get any questions. I'm sorry.
I want to know what your children thought.
I'm sorry. They'll be back immediately after lunch, but before... Do you have something?
Paper, we've got to eat paper.
Oh, wow!
I can't read that.
It's okay.
Shall we thank the doctors?